Hey, what's up? Let's talk about electronics and bass fishing. I've spent the last few days listening to Randy Blaukat, or not just him, but I watched his video on electronics, and I respect the man immensely. And listened to some rebuttals, and I have to say I kind of lean, or I do lean in Randy Blocket's corner a lot more. I don't call it the magic fishing; I call it the mystique because it's like a mystery and magic. There's something about it. There's an untangible aspect of fishing that is sometimes lost, and I can see it in other anglers that are they're so driven electronically. But that has nothing to do with it. I just look at it because I'm good at electronics, and I've kind of prided myself on being able to utilize them. And I don't have the 12-inch screens or the 16-inch screens. I've actually purposely limited myself to budgetarily, just to prove that I can do it with a limited budget to smaller screens. And I was kind of a little bit ridiculed by other. The league or whatever angler, kind of ridiculed in one of my interviews over it. But I still have the same technology these guys, live sonar, HD structure scan or whatnot. And I can still utilize my graphs. They're all linked, or I have two, and they're on the small side. But regardless, I look at it from a sports perspective to gain more legitimacy in this regard. We have, if you look at, the comparison has been drawn NASCAR to golf to bowling. I look at golf and NASCAR as the best comparisons. Even rodeo, there's restrictions on equipment, or I don't even. There's regulations on equipment, and it's to isolate the advantage that equipment gives the individual to greater exemplify the talent of the individual or the individuals in the competition. And that's essentially what I believe Randy is hinting at. I think we can push that conversation forward into that realm. And I think what's been proposed through the whatever YouTube community or the fishing community as possible, how you would do this would be two graph limitation, or the other aspect would be inches. And it'd go along the same realm as your outboard, as your rod length, as just anything. People are acting like it's going to be a slippery slope. Now, well, you draw the line somewhere, and it's just to limit. Doesn't mean you can't utilize technology. Doesn't mean you can't have your brand specific identities. It just puts that everybody's playing on the same, as much as possible, the same playing field. And when it comes to equipment, like I said, we're trying to isolate the advantage that the equipment gives the individual to greater exemplify their talents, and to make sure that that talented person is recognized as such. And it's not a one-to-one correlation that these things give you this advantage if you're running 5 units or whatnot, or multiple different brands, but it does give you that marginal advantage sometimes to a guy that can't afford that. Having said that too, we can look at it. Yeah, the magic, the mystique. There's a number of ways to look at it, but I would agree that just like golf has a 14 club limit, they have certain regulations on the way clubs are made. Angles or materials, and NASCAR, same with vehicles, that we should have some sort of. It can't be a direct. There's not a direct correlation there. There's not, but there is enough when we're trying to make the sport, grow, and the legitimacy of it in the realm of other sports. There is, I think there's a need to do something about this, and I'm more, I guess, libertarian minded about it. But I think that there needs to be a set playing field that we're all level. So if that's limiting the number of graphs, or what has been brought up in other circles that I've listened to, and it makes sense, is limiting the number of inches. So you could have multiple graphs if you want, but they can't equal to a certain amount of inches. And it's not going to stop innovation even in tournament angling. In fact, it might drive it. And I don't like artificially driving innovation in one realm, but it might drive it into making specific units more functional, and we'll see where it goes. But In my opinion, 2 graphs or the inches, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, and I like it, just like the rod lengths. And I wouldn't even be opposed. Let's go to the other direction. The limiting the amount of rods. I mean, on the deck, I don't know. Maybe we don't go there yet, but I could see that. Here you got X amount of rods. I mean, that's something down the line. But the electronics things for sure, and we can go with they limit the horsepower, which I disagree with that too. The 150 rule, like a guy that wants to get into it, and maybe you can afford it. Maybe you can't afford a 150, or maybe you don't want to run a 150. Maybe you want to run a 115. I mean, maybe that's a safety issue. I understand it, but the line is that rule has been set, and we can all play by that, and that's fine. Uh, on the other end, when I was kind of ridiculed, I brought it up. I was like, well, I run these two 7-inch. I have a Phoenix, and I run these two 7-inch screens, and I got them for real cheap. They're all Lowrance units, and they're linked with the Lowrance Ghost, which obviously is not cheap. And then I have Live Sight, and I have the structure scan and all that, and I do just fine. I utilize it to the best of my ability. I teach people how to run electronics. And yeah, I would love to have a 12-inch screen or whatever, but it's just not in the budget when I'm trying to plan out, fishing tournaments, and I can utilize those sevens perfectly. And the guys that I've been and especially in the one bass realm, that have been partners with me, my co-anglers, they can see that, and I don't skip a beat. Would it increase my efficiency a little bit? Yeah, but the cost savings I have on those units and the ability to troubleshoot when something goes wrong is also an advantage there. But I'm with Randy on that, and there is a certain if we go down that not esoteric, but that realm of mystique and magic, or I think mystique is a better word. There's a mystique to it, which encompasses the magical aspect, but then the mystery of fishing that drives the intangible love of the game, of the sport, and catching a fish in the unknown, tricking that fish, not knowing exactly what's going on in his mind, sometimes not knowing it exactly where he's positioned or whatnot, and just being able to read the water and being in touch with that aspect of the nature. And not that you have to have that, but it is something that it for me, it's essential in the love of this game. Whether I'm fishing a potluck tournament or a $100,000 tournament, I kind of look at it the same. I get that same feeling when I start getting into them. I see the life around me when I go into a cove, and you just feel it, and you can see these fish swimming around and birds chirping or whatnot. It's great. But yeah, I'm with Randy anyway. I'm going to cut this short, and hopefully do more videos. I've relocated me and the boat into mainly for personal reasons, but it also centrally locates me for tournaments further south in the Midwest, and we'll do a lot more fishing and hopefully some smaller tournaments. Talk to you later.